Hey Magic fans, or Fossy Music fans now, what is up? So I'm here with my Dean Vendetta, Floyd Rose. So Floyd Rose is a little tremolo system, so you can play one note, and there's a little whammy bar here, so just have fun with it. Just a lot of different stuff you can do with it. Tuning strings is a lot different with this kind of setup, so I'm just gonna give you the rundown, fix up this guitar because I haven't really touched it in a very long time, so let's get right into it. Now, for you being able to push all the strings and frick around with them all you want, to not mess up the tuners, you have to put nut locks, and these have been kind of worn down, so I even bought replacements for them. So generally you're gonna need a 1/8 size Allen key. You're gonna have to just loosen up all of these locks, so that you can now push down on these and it'll change the pitch, because otherwise you're not going to be able to change your strings. So once you got them all loose, you're just going to take them all off. You can do it by hand, and this is what you're left with. Just pretty simple. Goes in one, out the other. You have a little thing that you can put the little flat part on, locks it in. So now that that's out, we're going to just change these strings. I got these really light gauge strings. It's pretty different for me to have very light gauge. I normally use like 13s. These are 9.5s, but that's because I want to get more into changing chords a lot faster, not so much playing heavy riffs as much as those nice jazzy chords, which these thinner strings will be easier to learn chords, as well as bend and stuff. So let's get into the string change. So one of the things about this system is that it's spring loaded, so there's tension going back here to battle the tension pulling this way. And so if I just cut the strings right now, this would lock back, and that's not cool. So what you need to do is push this down, and I like using a 9-volt battery to just slide it in there, and it's all out of tune because now all the pressure is being evenly put on the battery. It's even angled up a little bit so that there's less pressure on these springs here, and we can cut all these strings and start taking everything out. So after we've cut our strings down the middle, we now have the two halves. The halves that are up on the headstock and the tuning knobs, and this part. This part's very different from what we're normally used to. So let's start on these. All you do is wind the string around as normal and pull it through, and boom, you have this string. Collect them all, make the little loop like I've shown you before. So all 6 strings off of the front. Again, keep them in these little circles. Always have the little make sure every single string is accounted for, because if you have a carpet like I do, losing a tiny little string and waking up and stepping on it and poking your foot isn't fun. Throw the whole little thing away. Now this is where it gets different. So we're going to use the same little Allen key, this 1/8 that we used to unlock the top. We're now going to come over here around the back and put them in these little holes on the side and just loosen them. You don't have to loosen them a lot, just a little bit. And now what that's going to do is it's going to take pressure off of this little square there, and the string will come out. So you're going to repeat the process of just loosening all of these for each string. So you know the drill. Now that everything is off, what do I always like to do? I grab my best friend's soapy water, shake her up a bit, grab a clean cloth, just give a quick little spray down of everything. Just wipe everything up, get all that dirt and dust that's built up. Just get everywhere. You don't get to clean often well with strings on, so just get under there, have a good time, just go at it. It's really just to get all that dirt up, that dust from, you know, your fingers. And I've added a new little thing to my my party of tools. So as you can see, there's no shine here. It's very dull. I bought these. So what these do is, instead of me having to put the duct tape around the frets, now just grab one of these and put them over, and boom, I can just take the steel wool to it, not have to worry about messing up the fretboard because it's still very soft. And I'll make sure to get all that, if it'll focus, it won't, but all that grime that's, you know, built up on the sides. So I'm gonna take the steel wool to them, and let's see how they look after. And everything is nice and smooth, silky smooth. So now we're gonna get to work on actually doing the restring part. The difference between this kind of setup and like the two pneumatic bridge on my SG and my Les Paul is that you actually need to cut the little balls off the end and put them in that little gap between the square and the in this little divot. Okay, so I decided to make this a little 2-for-1 because I have this guitar which I mainly use for rock, so it's not logical that I'd put very light strings on it like these 9.5s, but I have this little set of 11s which I'll put on this guitar, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the 9s on this guitar because you know, this looks a little more, I wouldn't say jazzy, but you know, it's the same kind of setup, but this is something I'd actually play with live, you know, if I wasn't doing rock. And this one is actually missing a little thing. I lost that. So yeah, let's get this all set up. Alright, so we're just gonna take our thickest strings, unwind them, and take our thickest one, which in this case is the brass one, which is our low E string. Take that out, put the A on the side, and if you can see how there's still some winding there, if it'll focus. No? Never does. And just right next to the winding, just make that little cut. So all the winding is right here, and this is just straight string. All right, so we're gonna loosen this little block here by just unscrewing this. You can do it by hand, and then just putting our string in through right there, and as you press down on the string, go ahead and tighten that. I'm gonna have to, this works too. Just hand tighten, and then you come in with your key, your wrench, and just give it a nice little quarter turn, and this string is locked in place. So then we can pull it, bring it all the way down here, and start threading it. So we're gonna do that with every string. All right, so side note, YouTube notified me that I was gonna get demonetized for using copyrighted music, you know, as if I was gonna get money from the 3 views I get per video. Anyway, so we have our string, and we're just gonna do this all normally, and we're not gonna do it like I did with the Les Paul, where you string it to where the string comes off the top, because it doesn't matter, because you're gonna lock this in place, and so it'll be fine after that. So let's go ahead and get all these strings in place. I just realized that all the DIY videos that have a lot of views, they show everything, but they just speed it up, so we're gonna do that. Okay, so all the strings are on, and I say on and not tuned up because it's important, if I can find it, yep, that, oh yeah, let's turn this down. It's important that they're not tuned all the way because we're still gonna drop this back down after we take out this battery. And as you can see, the battery even has little dents because of all the weight and the pressure that the springs put on them. So now that we took it out, still very out of tune. So here's the hard part. Now we need to get this in tune and then get the springs in tune with this tuning. So what ended up happening was, I think I put lighter gauge strings on this still. I think those were like 12s or 13s, and now we have a 11 gauge string, so more resistance because it needs to be higher tension to be at the same pitch. So we're going to grab our tuner here and try to get as close to the tuning as we can, while also keeping watch of this. Probably easier if I show you this way. This angle here. So you can see it slopes super down. We want this to be flush with, you know, at half. We don't want it to be too far down like it is. We don't want it to be pulling all the way. We want it to be right center. I don't know if you can tell, but this little metal part flush with the body of the guitar. So let's tune and keep adjusting things. Again, let's do this in fast. Oh no! Yeah, let's speed this up. So as you can see, we've tuned it up a couple of times and it's still out of tune. That's probably a D sharp, yes it is. And that's because as we tune this up, it's all adjusting in the springs in the back. So as of now, this little system here, you can't really tell, it's almost level, just needs a little bit more, about that much. So we're gonna see if tuning it up properly, again, also wiggling and everything, because we want the best, you know, response to, you know, tremolo and bends as we can. So let's keep going. Okay, so quick lesson, don't pull too hard because shit may fly out and now I need to look for it. In the event this happens, you will find this little guy. So this was a little cube that was in this slot here, and so all we need to do is put it down to where it looks kind of like a speaker and put that circle towards the screw so that the screw can, you know, push into it. Nothing bad. So now we're just going to have to go back and loosen that up so we can fit our string in there. This has never happened, but whatever. And we're going to need to feed some string back. Okay, so now we're just gonna go back and retighten all of these just to make sure that, you know, they're not gonna fly out like they did. Be even worse if you're on stage, and you're not gonna be on stage, you're watching my YouTube channel. But it would suck. I forgot a very important detail. Oh, that one was loose. Okay, so these, if you play violin, you know what they are, but they're fine tuners. So what we're gonna do is just get them all to the same level, make them all flat. And so what that does is it pushes down on these little levers here, and it changes the pitch slightly. Because again, if you're on, well, just in general, this is locked. So even if you move these tuners after you lock them up, it's not gonna do anything. So you need to use these tuners back here to screw in or screw out to change the tuning a little bit. You're not gonna be able to go from like E to drop D, not on this setup. But if you didn't set up everything right and your G gets a little flat, you can screw this in a little bit and it'll bring you back up. So that's another little lesson. Let's get back to flexing all these strings and getting it in tune. I'm up a bit on the string, Tracy Islands, I'm traveling, diamond cutter shape heartache. Who comes to find you, falling some velvet morning, yeah, it's too late. She's a silver lining, the Lone Ranger riding her through an open space. In my mind, when she's not right there beside me, I go crazy, 'cause here is the world. So, as you may know, when you tune up the guitar, it's gonna stretch the string. So as the string stretches, it might settle and go back a little bit. And the same thing happens with these little springs in the back. So the best thing you can really do is be patient. And if you have like a hanger for the guitar on your wall, which like I do, you can just hang the guitar there for, you know, 5 minutes, 15 minutes. And then just come back and tune it, just periodically, just keep tuning it. And then once it seems like it's gonna stay in tune, start screwing around and, like, you know, wiggling all the wires and stuff. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna take some breaks. I'm just gonna skip to where it stays in tune. So stay tuned. Alright, so we have the guitar here up on the wall. All of these are in, like, barely hand tight, like feathered. Like, if I put any pressure, it would just come right off. So these nuts are on hand tight. Everything's pretty good. I've taken it off and retuned it a couple times. It's staying in tune. The angle right here is looking pretty good. Can't really tell, but it is, I swear. So yeah. All right, so probably about an hour later, I finally got everything to stay in tune. So after you tune these down, it pushes on the string a little bit, so you're gonna have to use these fine tuners to go ahead and back off of them a little bit, so it instead of being sharp because it's getting pushed down, it lets up on them a little bit. So here's a little playing test. Everything's pretty good, you know, that new string feel. I can't think of what uses the whammy, so I don't know. But yeah, everything's working.